Please listen to the following two short stories about Jesus Christ and tell me, is Jesus loving or is Jesus fire and brimstone wrath, hating sinners? Or is Jesus bipolar? Both. Has Jesus got split personality disorder? You tell me. I'm trying to figure out myself.
I noticed somebody in front of me and Jesus was standing there. Um, I mean, just like he looked historically, you know? And
What was he wearing? Did he say anything?
well, I was going to tell you what he said, but you asked me what he was wearing. He was wearing a robe with a sash and a belt and sandals.
Mhm.
And he said to me, give me what you can't handle, and I will handle it. I'll take care of it. Give me everything. And I like,
I was conducting a revival, a associational-wide revival sponsored by the 27 Baptist churches in that parish in Louisiana. You know, in Louisiana, they do not have counties like we have in North Carolina. They have parishes. And this was a parish-wide revival. And we had come to the last night of the meeting, and I was preaching this sermon, and the meeting was being held in the rodeo arena. And as I preached, on the last tier of seats, over to my right, on the last row, top seats, were three men that I'd never seen before. And they had laughed and made fun. Now, preacher, it has never bothered me. When a little baby starts crying, the mother gets up and walks out, that don't bother me. But under God, I cannot preach if I see two young people laughing. I cannot preach if I see anybody mocking. It just somehow or another takes it away from me. 3 times. I stopped. And I said the last time, if you men don't want to hear me preach, a lot of these people have come from miles to be here tonight, and they do, would you just get up and walk out of the arena? One of them said, if you think you're man enough to come up here and put us out, you just come up here. And I prayed a prayer. Never have prayed before, never have prayed since. I said, dear Jesus, let me backslide for 15 minutes. And I promise you, Lord, if you'll let me backslide for 15 minutes, I'll go up there and beat the devil out of all 3 of them. And God said, I didn't call you to fight, I called you to preach. He said, you turn them over to me. And I did. And they continued to mock all the way through the sermon. We had over 400 people to walk down that aisle that night and give their hearts to Jesus Christ. I fully intended to never show them enough attention to address them again. But just as I was ready to pronounce the benediction, my arm came up. Preacher, did anything ever come out that you hadn't planned to say? That you couldn't help but say it? Has that ever happened to you, brother? How many of you preachers here have ever had something just come out that you didn't have in your notes and it just came out? Yes, every preacher, every God-called preacher has. And my arm just came out and I said, I do not know who you 3 gentlemen are. But all 3 of you stepped over God's deadline, God signed your death warrant, and God's going to kill all 3 of you. That was about 10:15 Sunday night. At 8 o'clock the next morning, I didn't know who these men were. They were 3 businessmen. One of them put the key in the door of his office on Main Street, Ringo, Louisiana, and dropped dead. At 11:30, the second man started across the street to a little restaurant to have his lunch from his office, and a lady was driving up the street and almost ran over him. She said he just walking along normal, fell flat on his face, and died right there in the street. At 5:30 that afternoon, the third man was sitting in his office, and he said to his secretary, my 2 friends are in hell, and before the sun goes down, I'll join them. And pitched out at their feet a corpse.
Storm, who is the real Jesus? I mean, in both instances, with you and this Southern Baptist evangelist J. Harold Smith. I wonder if you know the man, or I've heard of him. He died in 2001. Jesus told both of you the same thing. You give it to me. But Howard Storm, you believe in the love of Jesus. This man, J. Harold Smith, believed in a fire and brimstone Jesus. And Jesus, in Harold Smith's case, killed those 3 businessmen for mocking Jesus. Howard Storm, is your Jesus the real Jesus, or are you selling us a bill of goods? A loving Jesus we all want to believe in, but the real Jesus of the Bible is he really fire and brimstone and wrath? I mean, maybe God is bipolar. Maybe God's got a split personality disorder. One that's loving and one that's fire and brimstone wrath. Yeah, Jesus killed those 3 businessmen, like the God of the Old Testament commanded to exterminate them, kill them. They are an abomination to me. And if you met the real Jesus, you will answer my question, and you will follow the commands of Jesus to love your enemies, return good for evil, and you will answer my question instead of viewing me with disdain and contempt and blowing me off. And if you don't answer my question, you got the counterfeit Jesus Christ. And J. Harold Smith has got the real Jesus Christ. I just want Jesus to love me, but the evidence so far is pointing to a Jesus of wrath. Sometimes I doubt whether Jesus even existed, period, because, they'd proven that there was no Exodus out of Egypt by Israel. There was no Moses. Adam and Eve were fables based upon earlier ancient Sumerian myths. So, it's like God lied to me, and I'm pissed off.